Welcome to Animal Talk Thursday. This episode brings us to the cat that just disappeared. Brings us to our kitchen in the big hall. And we have 4 cats that live in here. And the reason why the 4 cats live in the kitchen is interesting. And Becca and I thought this would be a good room to try to come into and do some live interviews with some of the cats in here. So the cats that are in here are Gracie and Joy and Gizmo and Mezi. And they're all in here because they were very hard to place in regular cat rooms. Each of them has something that prevented them from being able to live into a group of cats. And it was personality issues and security issues. And Gizmo is a really good one for that too. We'll talk to them. But each one of them kind of needed a special place. And interesting, since they all 4 of them seem to have the same kind of issue, here they are living as a group in one room, and they actually do very well. They get along because they give each other the space. They all have the same understanding and needs. So as we've talked in other sessions about how sometimes animals just need a little extra understanding as to some of them get along and some of them don't get along or whatever. These guys have some of the same unique requirements, and it worked for them to be together. But it doesn't work for them to be in a regular room with regular cats. These are special cats in this special room. So anyway, the other thing is that all of them have interesting histories that are very similar, and that they were with people in very special homes where they were loved and adored, and then something happened. Either a person was sent to a nursing home, their owner died, something happened that was very dramatic for them, and they couldn't stay where they were, but they also had trouble adjusting to anything else. So we put them in the kitchen. Our kitchen is also because this is the most home atmosphere we have, and it works for them. So that's why we're here. So today we're going to do a demonstration of what a practical use of animal communication and what it would look like in real life. So Becca is going to be asking me questions, kind of interviewing the cats that are in this room, and to see what they have to say. And Becca, I wasn't given the questions ahead of time, so I'll be hearing them for the first time, just like with you, and we'll see what they say. They may say nothing, and that's always a possibility. That they may not have anything to say about it. But let's just try it and see where we go.
My first question is, she sits in the window and looks out the window a lot. So I'm just curious, what does she notice about the farm and the people on the farm? Because she probably watches what goes on outside a lot more than like most of us. Yeah, so Gizmo has been kind of an interesting, first of all, this is Gizmo, or Gizzy. And she's been here for several years with us. And interestingly enough, that's a good observation that you've made, but she's lived primarily in 2 different places here, 2 different rooms. This one and one other one that used to be our library, which was then made into our vet clinic. So she then needed to move. And we were very concerned about moving her because she is, I have an ironclad agreement with her. So she loves the window because she loves to know more about the farm and where she is. So she likes to watch the birds. She likes to watch the weather. And she said it's just a good place for her to kind of see what her world is like. How long has she been in this room?
She's been in this room probably 2 years now, 3 years, however long the clinic has been there. So
does she prefer this room?
She does. She liked the library. She actually really liked the library. But she does like this room, and she likes the attention she's getting in this room.
What does she notice about the people that come in and out of this room?
So here's what she likes. She said I have to say this the way she says it. She avoids, I want to use the word riffraff, but she doesn't mean that in a negative way. That has a negative connotation, and she's not saying it that way. But like the masses, she would not have ever wanted to be like in the role that Misty Mew plays out here as the head greeter cat. Gizzy's not into that. She likes her people. So her people meaning the small group of caretakers that take care of her. She would not want to be in a place here where she got volunteers and visitors coming in and looking with her. She really yearns for a clear routine. She yearns for things that are regular in her day. That's what fuels her. She likes routine, and she likes meaningful relationships. So that's what she's into. So she's beautiful, and she doesn't like attention just for the sake of attention. But she loves attention. I mean, she's a friendly girl, but she doesn't want just anybody touching her.
That's fair.
And she also doesn't like being the center of attention, so you see her tail starting to flop. She's like, what is this all about?
Okay, we'll ask one more question, then we'll leave her be. Another question that some of our veterinary staff had was, sometimes she poops on the rug, and they were wondering if there's anything they could do to help her not do that.
So this is difficult. This is a difficult topic, and inappropriate litter box use or house soiling is always difficult. I've been asked this question before about her, so I have a little bit of a history with her, obviously. And when I try to talk to her about it, she says sometimes she just gets really out of sorts, and I think that that's true. I think although she likes it in this room and she's with the other cats and they all get along, it's still a stretch for her. So when Gizmo first, let me just put a little history here. When Gizmo first came here, she lost her home, which she absolutely loved. And I can't, it was so many years ago now. I actually can't remember what the circumstance was. I don't know if her person died, but something happened very abruptly with her. She came here and she was super depressed. She actually stopped eating and she ended up on a feeding tube. We brought her through that, but she almost died. And I remember, as clear as anything, she was in a isolation pen with this feeding tube, and I looked down at her one night and she said to me, she just didn't want to live. And I said, what if you don't want to go through this, we're not going to make you go through this. So but she said to me she just wanted to belong again. And I said, well, what if we found the place here for you to belong? And she said, well, I'd be interested in that. And so she and I have an ironclad agreement. The thing she didn't want to be was in a room full of other cats. She couldn't deal with that. Well, we're an animal sanctuary here with 140 cats, and there isn't a place for a single cat because there's no single place in this farm that only has a single cat. So that made it very challenging. However, I couldn't adopt her and take her home because she and I really connect. Because I have multiple cats and dogs. And so dogs were a no-go. She was like, absolutely not, no dogs. I did find a place here though for her, and it was the room where I taught workshops, which I usually keep cat-free. And she thrived in there, even though she was alone, and she was alone in there a lot. Staff came in with her and stuff. She loved it, and she found her place. And so uprooting her from that place when we had to renovate and make that area our vet clinic, and I had a new area where I was teaching workshops, but one that I couldn't put her in. So this was the next best thing right here. And she's okay. She seems to like it. But the inappropriate house soiling, I think the other cats just do get to her. Mm-hmm. And it's what she does. It's a stress response.
Sure, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, and we live with that because it's Gizzy.
It's okay. We love her. I'm curious what Gracie thinks when she watches what goes on in the Learning Center, because oftentimes when we have meetings, you look over and you see her little face very attentive in the window. Yes,
so Gracie's very interesting. Gracie's very opinionated and lets you know about it, and she's very, very vocal. So very vocal cats, the ones that, she'll probably do it while we're sitting here. She'll suddenly just meow. But since the kitchen is adjacent to the Learning Center where my office is and where I teach workshops. And so, yes, we have meetings there. It's a conference room. And I can't tell you how many times a day we're sitting in there and suddenly you'll feel like you're being stared at and you turn around and she's in the window just glaring at you. And then all of a sudden she goes, meow, She likes to just know what's going on everywhere. And if Gracie could be the boss of everything, she would be the boss of everything. If cats had roles here, she would be the executive director. Because and I think she bumps heads with me with trying to do that. Like she'll try to get me, in there to let her in there. And The reason why we don't let cats in there is because sometimes when people come to workshops here, they are allergic to cats. This isn't a great place to come if you're allergic to cats. So anyway, I try to keep the workshop space free of that. So we don't allow the cats in there, and that makes her mad. So, and she can be very opinionated about that.
Because she's so opinionated, is there anything else that she would change if she was the boss of everything?
Oh, you probably don't want to ask that question.
Okay.
So let's see, Gracie, what would you want to change? People move too fast. People just move too fast. She said they come in here, they don't spend enough time because they're busy. You know, they scoop the boxes, they feed us, they leave. She said they should spend more time just being with cats. So I just explained to her that they spend a lot of time being with cats, like 8 hours a day, and that, you know, there are 140 cats. And she said, well, they should be here with me primarily.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're trying to get more volunteers so they can come and just sit
So you
with
can talk to Becca about that.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Complain to Becca, not to me. Right? I know, but that's who you have to complain to. Yeah. Okay.
What does she think about about her roommates in here and the whole dynamic?
Yes, and Grace is the newest cat into this group. And they accepted her, which I didn't know if they would because she is kind of bossy. She said they're okay, but they're just plain cats. You know, so I'm special. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're plain, they're okay. No arrogance here.
She knows she's stunning, I'm assuming.
She does know she's stunning, yes. And we should also say that she was having trouble in her home, which is why she's here. And she's here because one of our animal caretakers was actually her family, and they still come. The family comes and they groom her and everything because they're a professional animal groomer as well. So she does get groomed professionally, regularly, and gets to still see her family. But she actually, the stress in the home of children and activity just got to be too much for her. So this, for her, she's happy with. Like, she feels that her environment here is in control. Like, she's in control of her environment. Where she was, she couldn't control the environment, and that's not her thing. Mm-hmm. She needs to be like in control. But she's not bossy about that. So when I say that, she's not going around beating up the other cats. The other cats aren't afraid of her. But she likes to have her say and make sure she knows she's being heard and understood, and that's important to her. And she says, like, to me now, she says, you know, you didn't think about this before, but we could do this. Like, I could be your model, and you could let me talk all the time. Yeah.
That's true.
No, that she said that would be fine. Yeah.
Right, Gracie?
Yeah. And she has to keep herself beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure it takes a lot of work.
Yes. So Joy came because her person, I think, was put into a nursing home, and that was extremely difficult for Joy. Coming here after she was an only cat with a person all to herself is difficult. And I just need to mention, for the sake of our viewers, that if you hear banging in the background, and it's also going to start affecting the cats, unfortunately, we are still recovering from all the snow we've had, and there's still snow being taken off of the roofs, and they're just over this room now. It's just our luck and timing. So the cats may also react to that. So that's okay. This is how life is, right?
Yeah.
This is life. So Joy had a real hard time. So when she first came here, some of our loyal Facebook followers may recognize her because we had this picture that we posted on Facebook of her with these great big eyes. Her eyes were like wide open, and it was her first day experiencing one of our porches, and she could see the tractor outside. It was a summer day, and it clearly was the sense of awe of everything. But along with awe came overwhelm because she was in the city. She wasn't a rural cat. And so anything she sees outside the window the world is way bigger than she ever experienced before. So she says that makes it very hard for me. So she needed something smaller. She couldn't deal with a room with 8 to 12 cats, and it just was not her thing. She couldn't do it. So we tried her in here in the kitchen just to see what would happen. And it was definitely her niche. She can be in here. She can interact with people when she wants to, which she does. I mean, she comes in and she's very vocal, so she likes to talk to everybody. And but yet, it's not so much the petting that she wants. It's like the connection, because you can pet her. It's not that she doesn't want to be petted, but she much more likes to talk to you and have like a verbal exchange, really, than she does sitting in your lap. You know, she just said, it's just what makes me me, is how she says it.
That was my other question, is something funny that I've noticed about her is that she seems really excited when you come in, and then when you try to pet her, she doesn't seem into it, which obviously it's important to respect. But right. I was curious, like, does she not like how we're petting her? Is it just not her thing?
It's not her thing, and it's not an issue for her. So she doesn't understand when people get upset about that, because she said, why do you people have to do that? She said, you don't have to touch me to be a part of me. So she was used to one person, and to have multiple people petting her is almost like it's just over the limit. I mean, it doesn't feel good to her. Occasionally she likes it, but she said, it's not that I don't like people, and she loves relationships with people. So, and she feels she has good relationships here with people. She likes that. She loves to watch out the window. Now she likes to people gaze, so she likes to watch the visitors that come in, and from this room she can see that. She doesn't want to be out there like interacting with them, but she's intrigued, like she's interested. She just said to me, when I first came here, I didn't understand why people come here. But she said then she discovered that they come here to learn about cats. And so that, she thinks, is worthy of being a part of that. Mm-hmm. Like, she likes that cause. And this is a whole different thing. She said, I have new purpose now. It's very different. And it took her a while to switch gears and into a new purpose. But this is like, she calls this life part 2.
Aw, I love that.
And she likes part 2. She liked part 1. You know, there was nothing wrong with part 1. So, and she said, some animals have had really bad things happen to them. She's not one of them. So she said that she's been loved, and she appreciates that. So she does appreciate the cats that haven't experienced that before, as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of new for her.
Mm-hmm. I'm really glad to know about the petting thing, because I think it's a good lesson for everybody. Because I think a lot of people, when they interact with a cat who backs away and doesn't seem like they want to be pet, they just assume that they don't want attention. And that's not true.
No, it's not. Listen, animals are different just like people are. Not all of them want us to touch them, but it doesn't mean they don't want to be connected to us. So there are people that don't like to be touched. Or you know, there are some cats that you can get a couple of strokes in, and then all of a sudden they swat you. I have 2 in my home that do that. They're sisters, and they are just like that. But it doesn't mean that they don't feel connected to us or have a relationship with us. They just, and here comes Grace, who doesn't mind being petted and being told how beautiful she is. But yeah, it's just not her thing. But she doesn't want us to just walk away from her either. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. Good to know,
Joy.
She
just said, thank you for asking that.
Aww. I love her. I love Joy.
Now we have Mezi, and her name is actually Mesozoic. Because she was here as a kitten, and I don't know the details because I don't remember. We've had so many animals here over the 30-year period that I don't even profess to remember all of them. But anyway, Mezi was adopted and returned. So she is on the more shyer side. Yet, I mean, she is friendly. It's not that she doesn't want to be petted, but she's more reserved. And so when there's any big thing going on here, she tends to take off and hide in her quiet places. But she really seems to like that.
I was curious what role Mezi feels like she plays here in this room with these 4 kitties.
Okay. So Mezi does feel like she is just a grounding force. She said, I'm the reasonable one in the room. She said, everybody else has like these big personalities. But she said, I just like to be cool. And that's what she does.
Do you think now that we started doing it, do you think she understands a little bit more what we're doing? Because she came out here, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. She said, well, I wanted to be a part of it, but she said, I kind of don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Like, what do you want to know?
What's it like to be you? What's it like?
Okay, she can answer that. She said, it is really fun to be a cat. She said, I really love being a cat. She said, being a cat gives me ways to experience my body in really unique ways. Like, she loves to stretch. She said she loves that. And she loves people. She loves to make people feel comfortable. And she thinks she does that. She said, people come in with heavy hearts a lot. And she said, they'll find me. She said, they'll come and find me. And she said, I'll make them feel comforted.
I can attest to that. She's a very grounding presence.
Yeah, and that's, but she actually loves her life here, but she doesn't, and the other thing is, she doesn't want trouble with the other cats. So she's like the peacekeeper, but she avoids them as well. But because she said, I just don't want drama. She's not about drama. And she said, I'm sorry. She said, some of the ones in here, she says to me, I won't name them, but you know who they are, like to bring drama. Yeah, and loud. They're loud, and they always have to be calling attention to themselves and stuff. And she says this non-judgmentally. It's just an observation. But she said, that's not who I am.
It's a good balance in here.
Yeah, she's a balancer.
It's interesting to observe because it's very fast. Like, it's not like you're pausing and listening to like a full sentence. It's just almost instantaneous. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So that's the way I receive, but not everybody receives that way. So I just have to say that. It's not about the speed. There are some very good animal communicators, for example, that will take questions from people. And frequently, some of them only work by email. So you'll give them a list of questions, they go into a meditation, they get the answers, they write them down, they send it back to you. There's no right or wrong on this. That's how some people work, and there are a lot of them that work that way. For me, it's like really instantaneous. So it is as fast as having a conversation as you and I are having a conversation. It's just always been that way. It's just my natural way of receiving. And I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people will comment on that about it doesn't even seem like you're thinking about it. My problem is that if I stop to think about it, I will second guess what I'm getting. And then, so I have to just kind of roll with it. That's become my thing. It's interestingly enough, I taught a workshop once in Canada. I was in Quebec, and all the participants spoke French. I don't speak French. I had a translator for the whole workshop, and I didn't know how that was going to go. And it actually went quite well. But when I did consultations in front of the group, I could hear people like muttering amongst themselves and laughing, and then so finally the translator stopped me, and she said, they need to tell you something. The group needs to tell you something. And what was happening was that the person would ask me a question about their animal in French, and I'd have to wait for the translator to put it into English to me. But what started happening, it became a natural flow, is that I was already getting the answer from the animal before I heard it in English. And I started talking. And the people watching started seeing that was happening. I didn't even catch it was happening. And so once they pointed it out to me, I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, then that's what I mean. I would start second guessing. Then I deliberately waited to hear it in English, because that freaked me out. Because I was like, wait a minute, how can I be answering before they're even, asking me the question? But that's what happens. Telepathy is instant. Telepathy doesn't know time or space. So the messages, the questions asked, the answer's there. Yeah.
So interesting, but it's still going to be different for everybody. So if you take more time, it's okay.
Absolutely. And you don't have to be working up to doing it as fast as I do, because that's just me. But like I said, there are lots and lots of animal communicators. They work all different ways. So everything is unique telepathy is unique to each individual, as to how quickly you receive it, how you receive it, how long it takes you to translate it. All of that is unique to each person. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining the Cats in the Kitchen, and we'll see you next week.